I'm Mrs. Twiddell, Mrs. T for short, and today we're going to talk about why art matters. Stay creative. Hey guys, it's Mrs. T. It is Monday, March 30th, and today's lesson, what we are going to do is we're going to learn a little bit about a artist from the 1800s. He was actually on my Star Artist of the Month board for quite a long time. So if any of you remember it, it's Mr. Vincent Van Gogh. Today is actually his birthday, so that is the biggest reason why we're going to be talking about him. So here is a little presentation that I've worked out, and I'm going to have some art challenges for you to do at the end of the slideshow. It is Vincent Van Gogh's birthday today. If he was born in 1853, how old would he be? Parents, you can go ahead and either pause or stop the video, let your kids do the math. It's a great little activity for them to do for math-wise. If you do know the answer, you can go ahead and comment or just write it down because there's going to be a lot of questions that I have for you guys that you can answer, okay? So who was Vincent Van Gogh? Van Gogh was a painter during the Post-Impressionist time. He used several portraits as a way of practicing, so he didn't have to pay for models or people to sit in front of him for him to look at and paint. So you could do this by using a mirror, or now that we have technology, you could do it using a selfie. He did a lot of self-portraits, as you can see the 3 paintings that are in the yellow box. He did a lot of different paintings. This was the painter that did cut off his ear. There are speculations that it was just his earlobe. So in that far right picture, he's wearing a bandage around it. This was assumed to be shortly after that had happened. He was a very unique painter. He's actually one of Mrs. T's favorites because of the different colors that he brought into his paintings. He painted other things too, which I'll show you here in a little bit too. This was our Artist of the Month in my classroom for a good solid 4 or 5 months because Mrs. T didn't switch it out very much. So a lot of my kids probably have seen Van Gogh and some of his art. So Vincent Van Gogh was born on March 30th today in 1853 in, correct me if I'm wrong, Groot Zundert, Netherlands, and he was named after his grandfather. If you look down in that far right corner, he turns 167 years old today. One of the questions that I thought would be a fun one that you could have with your kids is, who are you named after? Obviously, if they're not named after anyone, then that's okay. It's just a cool way to figure out, why did you name me this way? Maybe it was just a cool name. Maybe it was named after grandma or grandpa. I was actually named after my great-grandfather. His name was Vernon Madison Ingle, and that's my first name is Madison. My middle name was Marie because that was just a common middle name back then, or at least that's what my parents told me. And then my last name used to be Herman, and now it is Twiddell, or Mrs. T, as some of the kids know me. He was a post-impressionist painter, which I talked about, but what does that even mean? Post-impressionists had learned about using light, shadows, and colors in their art from the Impressionist and Baroque art time periods, which were before the post-impressionist time, which we'll actually talk about later in the next few weeks. There's two paintings at the very bottom. The far left corner is a Baroque time period painting, and you can see the huge difference between that time and the Post-Impressionist time on the far right side. While I'm kind of reading these, I would like some of my students to spot the differences. What is different between those two paintings? The Post-Impressionist time, which would be that right painting, wanted to add their own new ideas to art. So you know how Mrs. T is always having you guys try and get a whole bunch of different ideas out and not trying to do the same thing that everybody else does. It's because I want you guys to be unique and try different things. And this was a big Post-Impressionist movement for that. They began to try new subjects, techniques, perspectives, and shapes to express their thoughts and emotions in art. So if you look at the two paintings at the bottom, there could be a few of you that have already paused it or spotted the differences. Baroque time was very realistic. They loved capturing what they saw as real as they can get it. Whereas with the Post-Impressionists, those colors aren't what we see, are they? We don't have blue trees or yellow and red dotted trees, right? So there's a whole bunch of differences in those time periods, whereas one was more realistic, one was much more, a lot of different colors were added in. You could also see the brush strokes in the Post-Impressionist time period in that right-hand side, whereas with the Baroque time, you can't see those brush strokes. They're very smooth, very smoothed out, so then you don't see those brush strokes. In that Post-Impressionist time too, you also get different shapes. There are some little red dots in those trees in the far back. There's also some red dots on the fountain. I'm guessing it's a fountain where those ladies are either doing laundry or getting water. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of differences that you can spot in the Baroque versus Post-Impressionism time. Post-Impressionism time was more of a period of painting rather than a style or a movement, which means that they didn't really care what people thought of their art. That's why a lot of Van Gogh's art pieces didn't actually sell until he died, which is really strange because he's like one of the most known artists of our time period that we, like, when we think of who's a famous artist, we would think, oh, Vincent Van Gogh, and you would think Starry Night, because those are the two most popular ones. This was a time when many artists went their own way and developed their own style, which is why Mrs. T really likes it when you guys try different things in class, and I get to see where your mind takes you with it, because it's really cool to see the difference between you guys, rather than you guys copying my example for our project, is you doing something totally outside the box, but still doing the same project, okay? One thing I thought would be a little fun thing to do, talk about it with your parents or your siblings. First off, happy birthday, Vincent Van Gogh. We didn't really say that earlier. But question, how did Vincent celebrate his birthday? Or how did you think he celebrated it? He was born in 1853, so for his 30th birthday, it would have been 1883, so try and look up different things that people did during 1883, okay? Who wished him a happy birthday? Who was his family? Okay, look up who was his family. And did he receive any presents? Okay, in a letter to his brother, whose name was Theo, which is funny because the other one's name was Vincent. But in a letter to his brother Theo, he wrote about his 30th birthday, basically saying, thank you for sending me a card, or for the good wishes. And then he talked about the art that he did, and he actually sent the sketch to his brother of this man who was digging in their town. And he was talking about how he had an excellent model for a digger. So, happy birthday, Vincent Van Gogh. Question. I want all of my students to be looking at this. Have you seen any of these Van Goghs before? Mrs. T has talked about 2 of these at least once in her class. It depends what grade you are. I only talked about it to a couple grades, and I can't remember which ones they were. But the biggest one is, it's actually a painting in my room. It's a whole entire wall. And you can either tap on the screen of which one you think it is, or which one is in my classroom. I've talked about the sunflower one, which is that far left one in the bottom corner. It's all yellow. This is probably one of Mrs. T's favorite art pieces, mostly because Mrs. T's favorite flowers are sunflowers. And then that far right corner, which is Starry Night, which is in my classroom. It's the whole entire back wall, and I think there's actually a picture of my classroom in my cover photo for Facebook. So how do you think we should celebrate Vincent Van Gogh's birthday? I have 3 different art challenges that you can do. One, I want you to Google Van Gogh's bedroom paintings, and I'm going to actually go back to that last slide. One of his paintings is right here, is this middle top one where there's the bed and the seat, and he drew his bedroom. One thing that was different, you know how Mrs. T had said post-impressionists had different styles because they were trying different things. This is a room that actually isn't symmetrical. If you look at the paintings of his room on Google, it'll show that there's some lines that aren't connecting all together, so it looks like a really kind of wonky looking room. So you can go to your bedroom and sketch what your room looks like. I want you to be sure to include the things that are the most important to you. So maybe you have a favorite book that you love, maybe you have a favorite toy that you like, and then add some color to it. Art challenge number 2, design a birthday card for Vincent Van Gogh, okay? Number 2, on the front of the card, ask someone to pose for you and draw their pose. Look at the digger's image, which was a couple slides back. I'm going to go back and show you guys those digger poses. You don't have to do a digger pose. If you want, you can. But just draw someone who's posing. Or maybe you have a pet that's just laying and sleeping. Maybe you can draw them. And then on the inside, write a birthday greeting. So, like, if you could talk to Van Gogh, what would be some questions that you have? Maybe talk about some of his favorite art or some of the favorite art pieces that you have of his, and kind of just, pretend that you're sending it to him, okay? Number 3, the art challenge number 3 is step 1, Google Van Gogh sunflowers. Mrs. T talked about the Van Gogh sunflowers, which was the bottom left corner, the big yellow painting. It's a lot of yellow. That's another reason why Mrs. T likes it, because Mrs. T's favorite color is yellow. And then you're going to create a vase of sunflowers. Mrs. T has her Bitmoji down there in the corner with a whole bunch of sunflowers. Use what you have on hand. So, like, maybe you want to do a collage, a painting, maybe a drawing, or sidewalk chalk. I want you to get creative with this, okay? So collage, for those that don't know what I mean by collage, is cutting out a whole bunch of different like paper and stuff from magazines. So like maybe you go through the magazine and find all of the yellow that it has in it, and you cut out just the yellow part, and then you create one whole picture from all of those small pieces. So sunflowers are yellow, so you need a lot of yellow to get those. But then there's some red and orange. If you're looking at Mrs. T's Bitmoji with her sunflowers, there's some red and orange, and looks like black in the middle. So you can create a collage of sunflowers. And I want you to have fun with this project. You don't have to do a collage. You can do a painting or a drawing. Maybe you have crayons or markers at home. If you have sidewalk chalk and it's a beautiful day out today, then you can go out and draw some sunflowers on your guys' pavement. Give some bright, shining happiness for this time. And can you make a sunflower costume? That's a good question. Can you make a sunflower costume? Try and find a whole bunch of yellow outfits that you can like kind of put on you and try to make a sunflower costume. Okay, so you guys might kind of learn about Vincent Van Gogh now, and how we can celebrate his birthday a little by doing some art challenges. Like I said throughout the video, Vincent Van Gogh's been a constant inspiration for me. I loved his artwork, especially with showing all of those brushstrokes. Plus, my two favorite colors are blue and yellow, which is funny because that's Martin Steele St. Mary's colors too. So just to give you guys the same concept, Art Challenge 1 is making or drawing a picture of your bedroom, including things that are important to you. Art Challenge 2 is designing a birthday card for Van Gogh. On the front, drawing someone, they can pose for you, or maybe they can just sit and do something and you can draw them, or maybe a pet too. And then writing a birthday card to him, like a little birthday greeting on the inside. And then doing an Art Challenge 3, which would be Googling Van Gogh's sunflowers. Mrs. T had her emoji in there with all the sunflowers, and creating a vase of sunflowers somewhere. You can do a sunflower collage, a painting, or a drawing, maybe sidewalk chalk. That's a good option too. Just get creative with it, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Make sure that you guys comment below what you guys end up doing, okay? Let's end this out with doing some elements of art. If you're in elementary school, this is something you can definitely follow along with. High schoolers, just kind of make mental note what you can, or what elements of art there are in art. From elementary, I do hand signals with them, so I'm going to do some hand signals, and they can either say it out loud or do it with me, and so here we go. So, the elements of art are, this seems very embarrassing, but it works in class. So, the elements of art are, we do kind of evil hands, and then we got line, we do kind of ninja arms to show our lines. And then we do space, okay? It's the space around us, so you have Mrs. T in the video, and then all the space around her. There's a map behind me, there's a brick wall, but it has its own space, right? Then we've got shape, okay? A lot of them do different types of shapes. You can do a heart, you can do a circle, you can do a rectangle, maybe a square, maybe a triangle. And then we've got value. Mrs. T's map back here is actually a great representation of value. Value goes from light to dark with only one color. It can't be more than one. Okay, value goes from light, so maybe this light spot right here, to a dark color, which would be right here. Okay, and then we've got color baby color. Okay, we've got the rainbow. I want you to say in your head, like pause the video and say in your head, what are the colors? Make sure that they are in order, and where, like, does it repeat itself or does it stop right there? Try and remember where it goes after that, okay? And be sure to, like, talk to your mom and dad about this, or family members, or your siblings. It's a really fun activity to, like, train your brain to remember these things, right? And then, let's see, so we did line, we did space, we did value, we did color baby color, and then we did shape. Oh, and we are missing one more. Okay, it's texture. Remember how we like touch our hair because we're trying to feel what our hair feels like? Now, we're not touching our face, okay? We're touching our hair. We don't want to be spreading some germs to our nose and our mouth, right? So, touching your hair and saying texture, texture. Okay, because it's something that you feel. So describe how a dog feels, or describe how grass feels, or maybe describe how rain feels. Okay, so that's another activity that you guys can do too. If you guys have any questions, or if you want something else more to do, just let me know. You can comment below. Remember, I'm going to choose 3 star artists each challenge at the end of the day, about maybe 4:30 or 5. I'm going to look at everybody's submissions, and I'm going to make a little picture and have all of your guys' art on there with like first, second, and third. So that is all for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed this small little presentation on Vincent Van Gogh, and I hope you guys have fun doing something for him for his birthday. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye! Stay creative.